disturbing statements that Jesus ever made was this: if someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Understand the Romans were ruling Palestine. The Jewish people were really upset under their oppression. One of the humiliating rules imposed on the Jewish people was if a Roman soldier requested assistance, a Jewish citizen had to drop everything they were doing and comply. You remember Simon of Cyrene? He was pulled out of the crowd and had to carry Jesus' cross. He didn't have a choice but to comply. If a Roman soldier asked a Jewish man to carry his pack or run an errand, he had to do it or be subject to physical abuse or prison. With that understanding, the Roman government stipulated that except in case of emergency, no one would have to go more than 1 mile. Visualize the crowd gathered listening to the greatest message ever preached, Jesus delivering the Sermon on the Mount, and the crowd's going, yeah. And then he says, if someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them
2 miles.
And they're going. All of a sudden, then they go like this. I had a guy a long time ago used to sit back in here, back about where you are, Ray. Right here. That's where he would sit. And I'd be preaching, and he'd be back there where Ray is, looking at me while I'm preaching, going, thanks for the encouragement. But that's what they would have done, how they would have reacted. They said, Jesus, what do you mean? You saying that literally? Because if you are, that means we are being asked to serve our enemy, to help our enemy. And that's crazy. And the principle Jesus established then and now is this: a Christian should be willing to do more than is reasonably expected of them. A believer in Jesus Christ should be willing to do more than is reasonably even expected of them. Followers of Jesus should be more helpful, more industrious, more generous, more thoughtful than anticipated towards those with authority over them, and also towards those that they maybe don't get along with so well in the workplace. And this is so needed in the workplace today. If you have your Bible, turn to Matthew chapter 14. If not, on your iPhone or your iPad, turn to Matthew 14. I want to see how Jesus practiced this in one of the hardest days of work in his ministry. Matthew 5 will begin in a moment in verse 15. You might recall that Jesus had just crossed the lake, seeking to have time by himself to grieve the death of John the Baptist. But when he gets to the other side of the lake, a large crowd of people have already gathered there, and they begin to ask him to minister to them. Now, natural reaction, I know that for me, if I go somewhere and I want to get away, I want to get away. I love you guys, but I don't want you showing up, all right? Jesus' natural reaction, you would think, would have been, hey, go home. I need some time alone. But no. He ministers to their needs, he heals the sick, and talks to them about God. And then this happens in the midst of it all. Matthew chapter 14, beginning with verse 15. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Jesus replied, they don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. Bring them here to me, he said, and he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The The number of those who ate was about what? 5,000. Besides the women and children. Jesus goes the second mile. That's the lesson I want us to pull from this morning. Jesus went the second mile. He did a whole lot more than was reasonably expected of him, and then some. He would have been justified just kind of saying, hey, listen, guys, it's time to eat, go on home. And they would have been content with that because he'd spent all that time with them, healing their sick and hanging out with them. That was the first mile. The second mile was when he takes the boys' sack lunch and miraculously feeds over 5,000 people when he goes the second mile. And he did that all the time he was here on earth. You remember the extra grace that he extended Judas after betraying him. That's the second mile. Reinstating Peter, who denied him. Second mile. Giving additional evidence to Thomas, who doubted him. Second mile. Think about the place that you work. Get it in your mind. Wherever it is. What would happen there if you began just to practice the second mile principle in your workplace? Well, I tell you what, you're going to stick out. Because that's not the tendency of people in the workplace normally. Most give as little effort as possible. And it's true in every line of work. They just do enough to get by. They watch the clock and slip out as soon as they can. They'll only do, anybody that they work with that only does what's on their job description? Right? Nothing more. My pet peeve is to encounter employees out in the workplace that, are supposed to be serving their customers, and they look at their customers as intrusions. Like, why did you show up today? Well, come on. Love the story. Jack Nicholson. He's in an old movie called 5 Easy Pieces. He went in a restaurant, he ordered 2 pieces of toast. The server said, "Sir, toast is not on the menu." He said, "Oh." He looked at the menu and said, "I see you have bread. You have a toaster?" "Yes, we have a toaster, but toast is not on the menu." Exasperated, he said, "Okay, I see you have a chicken salad sandwich here. What does that consist of, the chicken salad sandwich?" Server said, "Chicken salad, lettuce, mayonnaise. You can have it plain or on toasted bread." Yeah, he'll tell you what I'll have the chicken salad sandwich. Hold the mayo, hold the lettuce, hold the chicken salad, and bring me what's left. Right? Somebody didn't catch that. Explain it next to him. He got his toast. Right? Not because they were generous or went beyond, but because he was, a genius. All right? People make all kinds of excuses for not doing their job and doing as little as possible. You'll hear things like, "The boss is a jerk. I'm not going to do anything to make them look good." If I do that, they're going to expect that from me all the time. I don't make enough money to begin with. Nobody else does around here. How many of you heard this one? "It's not my job." It's not my job. That's somebody else's job. Our challenge as believers is to be distinctive workers in the workplace. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 11 and 12, Paul shares, "Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, so that you will not be dependent on anyone." When you win the respect of outsiders by your work ethic, by your determination, by doing more than what's expected of you in the workplace, then all of a sudden they look at you and they say, "What's different about that person?" And you've got a window to share Jesus Christ. Jesus says, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and glorify God. And the most tangible ways to do that, to let your light shine, is to go the extra, the second mile wherever you work. What's that look like? Let me give you a few takeaways. Here we go. One, it means this. You do your work with excellence when you could get by with mediocrity. You do your work with excellence when you could get by with mediocrity. If you were to walk in the offices, the office area here at Northside, I encourage you to do that and do it today and whenever. I'd love to have you stop by in there and see what it's like. But you would notice on the wall in the hallways is this green line. Green line. There it is. All right. You'll notice this green line when you walk in the hallways. To you, it doesn't really mean anything. Well, that's a nice green line. Why in the world would they put a green line on the wall? To us, who work and serve here, we look at that green line, and we have discussed, we have taught, it's woven within our culture, that we are to serve, we are to work, we are to give above the line. It deals with attitude, it deals with work ethic, it deals with a lot of things. But when I sit in my office and I look out my door and I look out my window, I'm staring right at that green line. I need that. I need visuals. I need action. I need something to grab a hold of. And I look at that green line and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Jeff, how are you doing today with it? Are you above the line? Doing more than reasonably expected, or are you below the line? Because here's the deal with us. If we're not careful, we're human beings, and we will settle with just getting by performances. Every one of us. Just getting by in our jobs. We'll settle for just getting by in our marriages, in our families. We'll settle for just getting by in our spiritual lives. And if we're not careful, we will say just getting by little prayers and move on. When God calls us above the line, He calls us to do more than is reasonably expected of us in excellence. Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with some of your heart. Work at it with what? All your heart is working for the Lord, not for men. Another one. Going the second mile at work means you stay positive even when you don't agree with everything that goes on. Ouch. Going the second mile isn't just about your effort, it's about the attitude. The attitude that you put up when you don't agree with all the policies maybe that have been established. Being a team player. Colossians 4:5 and 6. Be wise in the way you act towards outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. And then look at this. Let your conversation at work, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Things like love, joy, peace, patience. How you doing with those fruits in the office, work? One more. Going that second mile means you're sensitive to God's leading, even though it may be uncomfortable at times. Maybe it's Jesus who forces you to go the first mile. Instead of just going the first mile, blow God away and honor Him by going the second mile and then some. And let me tell you, there will be times in your life when Jesus asks you to go the first mile, and that second mile is treacherous. That second mile is going to take you out of your comfort zone. That second mile is going to maybe cost you financially. And then if you go the third mile, you go more and more, it will begin to cost you physically and maybe even cause you pain and sacrifice. Got a couple ladies here that teach in the Northside Academy that I'm going to ask to come up that live this out. That live this out in their life. First one coming is Kelsey. The second one's Debbie. You guys can go ahead and have a seat. Let's give a Northside welcome. Kelsey heard God's call to go the first mile. That was to find out about what donating a kidney looks like. And then the second mile was God saying, you're the one. And Kelsey gave up her kidney for Debbie. And because of the sacrifice that she made, Debbie's sitting right here. Because being real, and they talk about, so I guess Debbie would not be with us if she had not received that. And so we're going to talk to him a little bit about what happened and went on. And before I get into this, we only have a limited amount of time, in fact, 8 minutes and 56 seconds. This story's way bigger than that. So this week we're going to get together and we're going to shoot kind of like a Paul Harvey, those of you old enough, all right? The rest of the story, and we'll put that online because they're really itching to tell more, but I keep shut them off, all right? Kelsey, kind of share how you came to work at the Northside Academy here at the church, and then came across Debbie.
I just started my 3rd year teaching here at Northside, so it was a couple summers ago that I got my job. But before that, I was substitute teaching for several years, and so it was one summer after another, applications every day, and going to all these interviews, and just the door was always shut. It was always no, and like, I don't understand what's going on. When am I going to find a job? So that was a very hard time, honestly, and there was one teacher that I subbed for a lot, and I would talk to her often, and she one day mentioned Northside to me, and I remember that weekend I was thinking about it, and it was a Sunday, and I was like, okay, I just need to go in there on Tuesday morning. So that was June 7th, 2 years ago. So I just showed up here unannounced with my resume in my hand, and I just walked in. And the first person I saw, I asked if there was someone I could talk to about the academy, and she took me up to Libby's office, who's the director of the school, and I introduced myself, and I said, are there any positions available? And she was like, yes, actually there are, have a seat. So we just had a conversation, and I left with a job offer. She was like, go home and think about it. She probably saw this look of complete shock on my face. Go home and pray about it. I did, but of course that night I emailed her and I called her the next morning. So that's how I ended up here, and then Debbie was teaching across the hall for me my first year, and she just right away from day one was helping me out, making sure I knew all the things I needed to know as a new teacher, and so we just got to be really good friends.
Great. And I don't think, the reason I asked her to share how she came here, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's a God thing, that God brought her into this building, into this school for a purpose. And Debbie kind of shared the health issues you were up against and how serious they were.
At first, in my 20s, would get kidney stones, and I just dealt with it. And then in about 2016, I went to a doctor's appointment, and they told me, your kidney function is about 25%. You can live with 25% for the rest of your life. And it's very disturbing to someone that's, you know, just in your 40s, and you're thinking, goodness, why is this happening so fast? They told me, the doctor that I was going to told me it could be this genetic disorder, and it could be actually starting in your liver. You could be all your life okay with it, or it might at one point damage your kidneys. So it did. It actually damaged my kidneys, and that's basically, in a nutshell, very quickly what happened.
And Kelsey, when you heard all that, saw what was going on, how did God, I take it was God, how did God let you know, okay, Kelsey, it's your kidney that needs to go?
Yeah, so I knew immediately. As soon as I found out she was in kidney failure, I just knew. I was at school one morning and I just saw another sub enter Debbie's classroom, and I'm like, what's going on? Just sub after sub, but she was just in and out of the hospital. So I texted her that morning and I said, hey, thinking about you, is everything okay? And I was walking downstairs to go get the kids getting dropped off for school, and she texted me back in that time and said that she was in kidney failure, and immediately what went through my mind was, I'm going to be giving her my kidney. Like, okay. I know that was from God because I knew nothing about kidney disease or transplants or becoming a donor. I didn't know anything about that. So I didn't say anything to anybody for a couple of weeks. I just prayed about it, just making sure I heard them right. And well, I didn't want to say anything if I wasn't serious about it. So, and then I talked to a friend of mine and then my family, and then we were at school one day. Debbie was here, and another teacher and I were in her room after school, and I still hadn't said anything to her, but at this time I knew that I had A negative blood, and the other teacher was asking Debbie if her brothers have the same blood type, and she goes, no, they don't have my A negative blood. And I'm just sitting there like, what? And so it was a couple days later that I had talked to her about it, but it was like a whole other year before I could even get tested. In that whole year, there were just so many stories I could tell where God confirmed it and that it was me. And I think the biggest thing is we found out that I was such a close match that they were sure we were related, which we're not. So that is amazing.
Crazy. And the whole, your mom and dad were here last service. Kelsey's mom and dad were back in the back after service. I met them, and they were just so proud. But your mom said, yeah, there was this side of the story too. I can't imagine, as a parent, you going to them and them saying, yeah, sure, go ahead. You know, it wasn't that easy, I don't think, by the reaction I got from her. Yeah. Debbie, how did she share, okay, listen, I'm going to give you a kidney. How did that happen? Did she come up and say, you know, I really have, God's told me I'm going to give you a kidney, or?
Well, she asked me to come to school and talk to her, and we normally did that anyway, so it was nothing new to me. I was just going to come in, and we started talking and, you know, sharing stories and things, and then she just looked at me with this look, and I'm like, what? She just was very I could see the emotion, that she was filled with emotion. And I said, you can tell me whatever it is, you know, and she said, well, I'm trying to, and she absolutely wrote it down on a note and said, I want to help you. And I said, help me take down my classroom because I can't teach anymore. And she said, no, I want to help you. I, you know, have A negative blood. And then I was like, no, you can't do that. I'm a mother. And I said to her, you're too young. What if something happens? And she said, well, we haven't even been tested yet, you know, but I feel as God sent us both here for a reason. So then we were walking down, and I was crying, of course, and then I just looked at her and I said to her, God has sent us here together. And it's through His will that we're here, and we both were placed here together.
One of the questions I had for Debbie is, how did she feel to receive the kidney from Kelsey? And this answer that Kelsey took to the hospital that some of the teachers and friends and wrote notes to her for her to take this quilt to the hospital. And this is what Debbie wrote. Kelsey, I have received the most wonderful gift ever. This gift is like no other gift I have ever received in my lifetime. The gift of life. The gift to return to raising my son. The gift of friendship. And the gift to share our testimony with others. I cherish the thought that this gift was given unselfishly with kindness and most of all love. I feel no words can express what I'm feeling, and the words I say seem plain. But in reality, there is nothing plain about it. It's my love appreciating the fact that you have given. I want others to see. I want to thank your family for being supportive in your decision to give me your kidney. I truly believe God, like she just said, God brought us together for this reason. I love you, Debbie. And I want to tell you, and talking to these two over the last week or so and getting to know them, we are blessed to have them as teachers here at Northside Christian Academy and investing in our kids and putting their lives into them. And you guys are an inspiration to me, and there's so many others. And they'll be up here after the service. Some have come up with amazing stories already to talk to them about, and their testimony and their witness of going the 2nd mile and then the 3rd mile, and actually a marathon it's awesome. So thank you guys. When I read Kelsey's testimony, and by the way, I got little notes all over the place in my office, little sticky notes, and they got words on them and names on them. And I allowed God to use those as the things that I might use sometime in the future within a message. And this was just screaming for the 2nd mile message. And I read her testimony, and it just, I was blown away in my office, but she shared this about waking up from a dream in a lot of fear, a lot of things we didn't have to go into, satanic attacks where God was just, or Satan was just pounding at them. But she'd wake up and she would listen to words of songs by Ellie Holcomb. I'd never heard of Ellie Holcomb. I'd never heard any of her songs. So I started Googling, YouTube, and watching, listening to a bunch, and I chose one of them. This morning, I was supposed to meet them at 7:45 in the lobby. And I look out, they're not here. I look out at 7:50, they're not here. These two are teachers, they're supposed to be proud. So I finally asked them, I said, you see two ladies walking around here? They said, well, they went down the hall. So, they're in the class, they're in Kelsey's classroom. So I walked down there, I opened up the door. Sure enough, there they are, and they're in there just wallowing. And you guys can't be crying already. We haven't started. And Kelsey said, that's our song. That's our song. The song that God led me to pick out is entitled, Find You Here. And so then I asked for a miracle pulled off to have it sung, and these guys came through. But Kelsey said, how did you know? Right? How did you know? And I said, that's a God thing. And that's how God moves. And I pray this song will minister to some of you as it is ministered to these two through this whole process.